Hey everyone, this is Joe. I am the digital astronomer. This week I want to take some time to go back to a project that I actually started back in late July, looking at putting a mosaic together of the Andromeda Galaxy. My telescope setup is a little bit too small, my field of view, to capture the entire galaxy, so I decided to put together a mosaic. And I started planning this back in July, but I finally got some more data on it. Stick around. I want to show it to you. I want to tell you a little bit more about this incredible galaxy, M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, and then show you how I put together this mosaic using astrophotography tools and Astropixel processor. Stick around. Okay, let me start out by just going over here to Cartes DuCeil, and I'm going to show you really quickly just a little bit about this object. Of course, M31 is the incredible Andromeda Galaxy. This is located about 2.5 million light years away from our Milky Way. It is actually the only true deep sky object that's sitting outside of our galaxy. That's what I mean by deep sky there, that we can actually see with the naked eye. It's the only thing outside of our galaxy that we can see with the naked eye. Now, of course, the conditions would have to be absolutely perfect. You'd have to be under very dark skies. You'd have to be under things that have to be clear and perfect for you to see it. But technically, you could do it. It is an incredible object. It is incredibly big. If it was brighter, it would be many times larger than the moon on a typical night. But because it's kind of dim, we have to go to a telescope to use it, okay, to see it. Now, just very quickly, let me show you what one of the problems I have is. This red square here represents my telescope and camera. And let me see, I guess I could center that up just a little bit better. And you'll notice that, so if I'm using just what I have normally, this is what I can capture. In fact, here is an image that I took last February using my Orion ED80T and ZWO 183 camera. And you can see, while I can get the core of the galaxy, I can't get these outer edges. My field of view is simply too small. And so that's why I decided a to shoot a mosaic. Now, let me show you how I planned that real quick. I'm in Cartes DuCeil. If you go up to view, you can go down here and click on mosaic, and you can select you can make some alterations here in order to plan a mosaic. And so my initial plan was I was going to shoot a 2x2 mosaic, and I thought this would capture everything pretty well. And I ran a test on that back in July, early August, I guess it was, and really wasn't very happy with it. I ended up getting a little bit of a seam down here. You'll notice you can change these horizontal and vertical overlaps. And I had them set originally at 10%. So in my test, I ended up with kind of a seam going down through here and wasn't very happy with it. But I ended up adjusting that. I ended up kind of going out to a 20% horizontal overlap and a 20% vertical overlap. And I thought that would be enough. So I shot these panels. Each one of these boxes, by the way, is a panel. Okay. So I shot a night's worth of data, 1 hour of data on each one of these panels. And I stacked it and looked at it, and I decided that it was just a little bit too crowded. So I ended up going back in and going out to a 2x3 format. And what I did was you can export these panels over to Astrophotography tool. The way you do that is, let me open up APT, and I'll show you how to do that really simply. if you just simply click on send via server, okay, and then if you go over to APT, come over here to gear, go to your objects, go to the to-do list. If you click on import list and then highlight Mosaic frames from CDC and click OK, it will bring over those frames. And so you can see what I ended up doing was I had the first 4 frames that I had originally set up, and then I added 4 frames. Basically, what I did was I took this frame, this frame, this frame, and this frame, and added it into my 2 by 2, my original layout. And so I ended up with 8 total panels, okay? 8 total panels that I had shot, and that's what these were. Mosaic 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the panels that I shot. And I ended up shooting 2 hours on each of those panels in order to create this image. Okay, this is a much better image of Andromeda, and I was really happy with it. I love because here you can see a couple of the satellite galaxies that surround it. These are M32 and M110, and I forget which one is which. But you can see got nice stars, everything blended in really, really nice. So I'm going to walk you through very quickly how I did that using Astropixel processor. Okay, so hang on for just a second. I'll be right back and I'll show you how I did that. Okay, let me start by going over here to my capture folder and show you kind of what I've got here. I collected data for this project over the course of 3 nights. So back in September 6th, I captured 4 frames. Then I went on the 10th and I did those same 4 frames, another hour worth of data. Then over here on the 7th, I ended up, you remember I told you I added in 4 frames to make the image larger. That's this data here that I collected. Now, what I want to do is stack each of those individual frames. This is the most efficient way to do this in Astropixel processor. Some of the guides that are on the internet will tell you that the best way to do it is just take all of your data, load it into lights, and then stack it as a mosaic. If you do that, it's going to take forever. And in all honesty, I don't think you'll get as good of pictures. What Medulla Haverkamp suggests is to stack each of the frames individually. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. I've already gone over here in Astropixel Processor. I've set my Bayer pattern to RGGB and Force Bayer CFA. I have to do that because I'm using a one-shot color camera. You may not have to, depending on your setup. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to show you how I do of the one of the panels. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to open up my data file. I'm going to go to the first night. This was September the 6th. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go to the frame number 1, and I'm going to click on shift and left click, put all of those 45 subs into my lights. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go back over and get my calibration frames. I've already stacked a master flat, a master dark flat, and I'm sorry, this should have been a master dark. This should be a master dark flat, and this one should have been the master dark. Okay. And I'm going to load those in. And I'm going to just quickly show you, I'm not going to run through this entire process, but let me show you really quickly one of the settings that you need to pay attention to that. Basically, you can use all of the default settings except over here on integrate. I turn the weights to quality. I go down here to local normalization correction. I'm going to set that to first degree, and I'm going to leave the iterations at 3. That's going to help to balance out the uh, the frame so that the illumination will be even across the entire frame. Then I'm going to go over here and enable multi-band blending, and I'm going to set that at 10%. I'm going to go down here and then press on integrate. Now what I want to do is do that for all 4 of these panels. Then I'm going to come over and I'm going to do all 4 of these panels, and then I'm going to do all 4 of these panels. And I'm going to do each one of those individually with the settings that I just showed you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save those stacked frames here. So you'll see this is frame number 1 from September 6th. This is frame number 1 from the 7th. And you can go on down. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 total frames that I now want to combine into a mosaic. And to do that, all you're going to do is going to come over here, and I'm going to just kind of clear this out. Okay, and you will not need your master dark, master light, all of that for this frame because you've already done that. You're going to come over and you're just going to add all of those stacked frames. Now that I've got each of the individual frames that I captured stacked, I'm going to add all of those into my lights. So I'm going to have 12 lights, those frames that I just showed you. Now, a couple of changes that you want to make here. On Analyze Stars, I up that to 5,000 because I'm going to have a lot more stars in there. You could play around with this. I'm not telling you this is the absolute set in stone settings that you'll need to use, but I set that up to here to 5,000. On Register, I'm going to come down and I'm going to move the scale stop to 10. I'm going to go, I don't think I need to do this one, but if it gives you a warning and says you need to do it, you might need to do that. I'm going to click on same camera and optics. I'm going to unclick that. And then I'm going to go down here on registration mode and click on Mosaic. Okay. Um, then over here on normalize, I'm not going to make any changes there. I'm not, and then on integration, what I did was I'm going to come over, and of course I'm not going to use, I'm going to use this equal because I want all of the frames to stack. Okay. On local normalization degree, I'm going to leave that at 1, but I'm going to increase the iterations up to 6. Now you say, how do you know to do that? I just experimented, and on my data, that's what works best. On your data, it might be different. You might want to change that around. Then on Enable MBB, I took that up to 25%. Now, again, how did I figure that out? I just played around with it. I tried it at 10, I tried it at 20. Reading Haverkamp's information on this on the forums and on the instructions on Astropixel Processor's website, it says you're probably going to need to set this to about the same amount as you did with your overlap, which for me was 20%, but I found that if I increased this to 25%, it gave me a little bit better results. Okay, I got all that set in. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to press integrate. Now, it's going to ask me a couple of questions. You are starting the Mosaic registration without dynamic optical distortion correction. For almost all mosaics, you need this to be enabled. So I'm going to click on yes. Now it's going to go through and it's going to take a while and it's going to stack my mosaic. And I'm going to pause this. I'll be back when it's done to show you the results. Okay, Astropixel processor is done stacking my mosaic, and again, I added all my frames in here, and then went in and stacked it. Now, the next thing that I want to do, of course, you can see is that I need to crop out the image that I actually want to keep. I also am going to have to adjust this gradient. I've got a gradient in here, but we can take those out using some tools. I'll just show you real quick. I can modify this and go over and crop out the image, the galaxy, okay? So what I can do here is once I've gone over here, I can just left click on my mouse. I can draw out a box, and that's what I'm going to crop out. Okay, so click crop OK, and then it's going to create a new file. I can go down to the bottom here, open that new file up, and that will show me my cropped image. And I'm not going to walk all the way through the entire processing part of this because it'll take too long, but let me just go ahead and open that up. The other thing that I would want to do in Astropixel processor is to try to remove some of this gradient. And the way you can do that is go over to remove light pollution. Um, and then what you'll do is just draw a bunch of these little boxes. If you're familiar with APP, you'll already know how to do this, but I'll just show you real quickly. Um, and you'll have to run probably through a number of these. I usually have to do this 2 or 3 times to get the gradient to come out the way I want it to. So I just draw all these boxes, hit calculate. It'll take just a couple of seconds to calculate it. All right, and so you'll see that'll start removing the gradient just a little bit. And what I would do is I'd take out the yellow and the red, and basically what you do is keep adding in boxes and drawing this out till you get the gradient out and get the picture to look basically pretty good. I didn't get all of this gradient out in Astropixel processor. I went over and took it to Photoshop and ended up making some adjustments there using a couple of tools. I'll just show that to you real quick. Um, let it open up there. All right, so basically what I ended up was bringing this picture over right here from APP. And then I ended up flipping it over, making it an adjustment, just rotating it a little bit. All right, so I wanted to rotate it counterclockwise. That kind of gave me the form that I wanted. And then I used up here in Filter, I have this little add-on that I put into Photoshop, which is called Astro Flat Pro. I went over there, and that's how I removed the remainder of that gradient. You can see that kind of gets rid of it all. Using these settings, I used a smoothness of 100, edge cleanup of 40, and a dark noise reduction of 65. And that flattened the image out very, very nicely. And then I went through and did some other processing until I got to, let me find my final picture here real quick. I thought I had that open. Well, let me just go back over to the file and get it so we can take one more look at that picture because I'm really happy with this. I think this came out as well as I possibly could have expected it to come out. And I was really, really happy with it. Again, you'll have to play with it to figure out what works best for you. But I was really happy with this. I've got some depth. You can see the dust lanes in here very well. Got a pretty good color balance. The one thing I wasn't completely happy with about this, I felt like this side turned out a little bit more purple than this side. And I'm not sure if that's something I did or the data that I collected, but anyways, I think that could have been improved a little bit. But anyways, that's how I did my mosaic of the Andromeda Galaxy. I hope this helps. If it does, man, put something in the comments. If you got some suggestions on how I can improve it, please put those in the comments. I'd love to hear some suggestions. And tune back in next week. We're going to look at another project. Just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed this video, please help support me by clicking on thumbs up, and share. Thank you.